So I wanted to follow up my last video with another idea and another way in which we can prevent ourselves from being fooled by our own selves. Another way of knowing that what we know is what we really know. And that's with what we call the politically motivated reasoning paradigm. This is coined by Dan Kahan. He's a researcher. He's done a ton of papers on this, and I'll share links to his website down below where you can access those papers. But the general idea is looking at, well, what is it that influences us when we're looking at fact-based, science-relevant policy and science-relevant questions. These are what we would consider empirical questions. They're complicated, but we can look at evidence and find an answer. A good example of this would be if we were in some city and we wanted to know, does promoting concealed carry permits increase gun violence or decrease gun violence? Now, I think that you already know that you're starting to spin the wheels in your head and say, I think I know what the answer would be. And that's where values are trying to supply your answer instead of evidence. Because we should be able to just sit down and look at the evidence. We do the study and we look and we see. Did it increase gun violence or did it decrease? Unfortunately, because this is a politically motivated question, and you know it is because you and I both had something that ticked off in our brain as soon as we heard gun violence that said, uh-oh, if he says the wrong thing right here, maybe I don't need to listen to the rest of this video because I know he's not part of my group. But unfortunately, that political motivation, what it does is instead of us using evidence to converge on the truth, to use reason looking at that evidence, it actually causes us to do the opposite. The more evidence we have on a politically motivated concept, the more we diverge from the truth. And this is a consistent thing that we see over and over again. You would think, well, isn't that what rationalism is about? Like, let's look at more evidence. Maybe the problem is just science education, right? Because people don't understand science well. I understand science well. I don't know about those other guys, but I do. So I could figure it out, right? I've got education. Unfortunately, when we look at people who are more numerate, who are better at numbers and stats, we find that that's actually even more motivating for that fact polarization. And the reason why that is because we're trying to protect a group identity. And if you're somebody who has more education and should know this stuff better, your group is going to look at you even more to confirm that identity. And you might be sitting there being like, what's this identity stuff? This is just like liberal identity politics, whatever. But identity has been a part of who we are as human beings since we were human beings, since there were tribes or families or nations. It doesn't have to be political, although it is very much so right now, because all of those are concepts that we kind of make up and we believe very strongly in.